research vessel Poseidon's Mercy rode the North Atlantic swells like a steel leviathan, drawing breath.
Her mission coordinator, a man whose hands bore the scars of 1,000 dives, studied the coordinates.
In her cradle sat Triton IV, a prophet's vision of the future rendered in titanium.
All systems nominal. Ready for deployment.
Confirmed, pilot. Telemetry stable.
Battery banks fully charged and secured. Dive authorized.
They entered their mechanical sanctuary, the hatch sealed with a sound like a final benediction. The East Asian male crane operator worked with the delicacy of a surgeon, lowering the submersible toward the water.
Ballast tanks flooded, and the submersible began her descent into the abyss. The ocean accepted her without ceremony.
At 300 feet, the light began its retreat. Vivid blues surrendered to deeper indigos.
Despite hundreds of dives, he was still mesmerized by the alien beauty of the deep.
1,000 feet. True, primordial darkness. The only sound was the groaning of the pressure hull.
The pilot followed a precise path. An error of a few hundred yards could add days to their search.
They entered the midnight sea. A squid with eyes like dinner plates fled their lights.
The numbers accumulated with the patience of geological time. They descended deeper into the planet's last great wilderness.
He studied photographs of the Star of Calcutta, memorizing details from an era long gone.
At 9,000 feet, the topography changed. The featureless plain gave way to an underwater landscape.
10,000 feet. The abyssal plain, a desert of sediment accumulated over millions of years.
Somewhere within this grid lay the scattered remains of the Star of Calcutta and her priceless cargo.
The hunt began. Triton IV moved across the plain like a mechanical deep-sea predator.
Hours dissolved into the peculiar timelessness of the deep. They witnessed the eternal recycling of the abyss. Midway through their 10th pass, the sonar painted a different picture. Something man-made. And there it was, a section of hull plating, rising like the rib of an extinct leviathan.
The Star of Calcutta had been found.
They found the strong room, a box within a box, designed to protect treasures from thieves and accident. The ocean recognized no locks or walls. It waited, patient, for all things to return to rust.
But not today. The mechanical ballet of deep-sea salvage began. interior lay exposed. 4 bundles, each the size of a steamer trunk, waited within.
Threading the cables required the artistry of a surgeon. One mistake could lose everything. The strong room sat in a cradle of synthetic fiber, ready to be drawn back to the world of light.
With imperceptible slowness, the artifact ascended, reluctantly surrendering its place on the abyssal plane. Inside, the precious cargo shifted. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed a bundle might escape.
At 8,000 feet, the first bioluminescence appeared, tiny chemical fires flaring in confusion.
Power was adequate, but margins were thin. Complications were not an option.
A sea turtle, ancient and massive, passed them by on its own deep journey.
The surface became a ceiling of hammered silver, a barrier they were about to cross.
The A-frame crane groaned as it took the weight of history from the sea.
With millimeter precision, the artifact was settled onto the deck. The lift cables went slack.
The team gathered, their faces etched with exhaustion and a profound, restrained anticipation. The craftsmanship of another era was revealed. Steel meant to last, and it had.
He directed light into the interior. There lay the canvas-wrapped bundles, preserved and waiting.
A scalpel began the work, parting fabric fused by time and pressure into a resistant matrix. Inside the canvas lay a wooden case, preserved through saturation.
And into his palm fell a cascade of crystalline fire. The second and third bundles yielded similar treasure. A fortune pulled from the dark.
The fourth held not only diamonds, but a journal. Its pages were fused, its words locked in a block of salt and time.
He lifted a stone to the sun. It was not just carbon. It was a piece of time itself.
The work resumed. The treasure needed to be cataloged, secured, documented.
But for a moment, they had simply stood together. The weight of their accomplishment demanded no celebration, only shared understanding.
Their tools bore witness. The submersible, the crane, the strong room. All had played their part.
The Poseidon's mercy turned for home. The ocean stretched to the horizon, vast and uncaring.
They had reached the deep, and they had returned. That was triumph enough. The diamonds were secured, beginning their journey back to the world of commerce and human hands.
The submersible received her cleansing. The salt of the abyss washed back to the sea.
The word went out across the satellites. The mission was a success. The long gamble had paid off. The strong room descended again, this time into the belly of the ship that had rescued it.
In the quiet, he thought of all the dives, all the searches that had ended in nothing. This one was different.
He recorded the details, turning experience into a permanent record. It was a habit born of respect.
The Atlantic showed another of its faces, a distant tempest, a reminder of the power they had just escaped. He stood where lookouts once stood, feeling the wind of passage, the satisfaction of a journey concluded. From above, she was a tiny scratch on the ocean's face. But aboard her was a treasure that had defied the depths.
Here they are, fresh off the griddle.
Finally, I am starving.
They look absolutely perfect, thanks, Chief.
The paperwork was as crucial as the salvage. It transformed treasure from a secret of the deep into a legal, tangible asset.
Right here, see the wear on these strands? Yeah. It's borderline. We need to log this immediately.
The trail began years before, in a London warehouse, with a single sheet of paper holding a lost secret.
This area, circled in red, represents the highest probability zone based on the latest bathymetric data. We should focus our search efforts here.
The abstract had become concrete. The red circle was now a confirmed point of triumph.
Her share was not just payment. It was a touchstone, a physical memory of pressure and darkness and triumph.
They paid their respects to the dead, to the ship that had been both tomb and treasury.
No words were needed. They had shared the cramped sphere, the tension, the success. That forged a silent bond.
It's done. We're coming home.
The most important transmission was not about diamonds, but about coming home.
Its purpose fulfilled, the strong room was now itself a relic, a piece of the story it once protected.
After weeks at sea, the sight of land struck them with a force they hadn't anticipated.
The transition began, from salvers to transporters, from the wild ocean to the ordered world of ports and papers.
The next custodians were waiting. The diamonds would not linger. Their value demanded immediate, secure transfer.
Chain of custody was exchanged with formal handshakes and the scratching of pens on paper.
They had carried the treasure from the deep. Now they watched it drive away, their connection severed.
They stepped onto the unmoving earth, their bodies still feeling the phantom swell of the Atlantic. For him, the mission's end was a kind of loss. The focused purpose was gone, replaced by the noise of the world. The debriefings began. Every sonar ping, every video frame, every decision would be examined and validated.
The submersible began her own journey, to be serviced, her wounds repaired, made ready for the next abyss.
Historic salvage.
The world learned of their success,
It became a financial headline, a historical footnote, a 9-day wonder.
He understood now it was never just about the money. It was about the recovery of lost time.
The stones underwent their own transformation, assessed, graded, and assigned a new, precise value.
The ship rested. Her decks, once an industrial cathedral of light, were now silent and still.
And then he realized it was a goat.
To the tribe, to the shared experience. Cheers!
From this height, the ocean was a smooth blanket. He knew the truth of its crushing, hidden depths.
The diamonds began their new life, cut, polished, set, their brutal history smoothed into dazzling beauty. The deep had not finished with him. He would go back, in spirit, through the machines he helped create.
Time, the ultimate ocean, continued its work. The wreck would become indistinguishable from the seafloor itself. The quest continued. Other ships, other crews, drawn by other secrets the ocean clung to in its dark heart.
And the journal, after years of careful conservation, began to whisper its secrets.
He paid a different debt. A piece of the treasure returned to the memory of those who had traveled with it.
And the waves rolled on, eternal and uncaring, waiting for the next ship, the next treasure.
The skills of the deep were transferable. Patience, systems analysis, calm under pressure, they were valuable in any realm.
The journal yielded its secrets not in a flood, but grain by grain, fiber by fragile fiber.
His hands, which had commanded steel and cable, now found peace in the tending of fragile, living things.
The request still came. His eye, trained by decades on the abyssal plane, was still sought after. The deep kept him in its service.
Words. The mission rippled outwards. In luxury, in education, in imagination. Its impact...
All ships meet their end. The Iron Cathedral was deconsecrated. Her steel returned to the cycle of industry.
The artifacts of a life lay within reach. One captured a moment, the other contained an epoch.
In the end, the treasure and the men who found it were inseparable. They were part of the same story.
They buried their captain, not of a ship, but of an endeavor that had defined them.
The greatest adventures eventually become just stories, then memories, then silence, then between old friends.
He looked up and down, the heavens and the deep. Both were frontiers. Both held mysteries he had spent a life approaching.
That look, in that silent, pressurized sphere, was the true treasure. Some secrets, he believed, were meant to be recovered, but not entirely solved. Mystery had its own value.
He passed the torch. The next generation would go deeper, see clearer, and ask questions he had never thought to ask.
The technology evolved. The machines grew more capable, but the human desire to see what was hidden remained the same. Each dawn was a new beginning over an ancient world. The cycle of light and dark.
The journal found its home, not in a vault of money, but in a temple of memory. Its value was incalculable.
A child saw a drawing, not a historical document. And in that way, the past spoke directly to the future.
He faced the Western Sea and let the tide of his own life finally begin to ebb.
The weight of diamonds was not in their carats, but in the journeys they inspired and the men they changed. The ocean is the great eraser. Given time, it claims all stories back into its dark, featureless fold. From this distance, the struggle was invisible. The triumphs, the tragedies, the recovered treasures, all silent, all small. But for those who were there, in that circle of light on the rolling deck, the moment would remain. It would always be large.
The mission became legend. The legend became history. The history became an exquisite for school trips.
Life went on, above and below. The sea road was traveled by new voyagers, heedless of what lay beneath.
In the end, the diamonds were just atoms arranged in a specific way. Their true story was the one we chose to tell about them.
Every end has a beginning. It started with a descent into darkness, with no guarantee of ever seeing light again.
And there they were, the weight of diamonds, the weight of history, the weight of a dream pulled from the dark. The scale always wins. The individual story is absorbed into the geography, the geology, the endless rhythm of the sea.
The deep kept its secrets and its silence.